I didn't actually start spending nights at my ex's home until we got engaged, until a little before we got engaged, actually. I as if I'm not mistaken, was one of the reasons why he actually did propose to me, because he was like, well, you're finally, you know, stepping out and deciding to spend, you know, more intimate time with me. And so that's the word du jour, intimate, right? Like, it is very important to see those intimate moments of your significant other when they are at rest, when they are at peace. Because again, your peace is different from that person's peace. But if you're living together, you have to make those two pieces of peace work. I also think it's very important for people to live by themselves. And I know I'm saying this, like I said, in a time where it's very hard for people to live by themselves. But even if you're doing like the whole room share or apartment share type thing, I think that's also very important. I think it's a very good opportunity for you to realize what your standards are, what your boundaries are, what makes you feel comfortable. How do you want to live your life? Because look at this, right? So when I lived with my mother, I still live with my mother to some capacity. Before, I used to have a room in the basement with like a bathroom. But it was just one bedroom that I lived in. I lived out of that bedroom, and people would clown me because, you know, it's like, oh, you're living in a bedroom in your mom's basement, or my mother and my family would clown me and be like, oh, she's just living out of the bedroom. But the thing is, the bedroom was my comfort zone. If I wanted to play, Orgy or Linkin Park or The Bravery, any given day of the week, and then switch it up and play like Jaheim and Raheem Devon and stuff like that, I had the comfort of my singular space where it was just me living in that room to do that. Right? If I did that in my mother's living room when I'm playing music at however decibels I want to play it at, I have to be considerate of the fact that this is my mother's space, right? However, when I was staying in my room, it was just me in my room, right? So they used to clown me, but it was the room that I lived in. It was the room I felt the most comfortable in. And so now I live in a two-family home with my mother, same two-family home that I lived in before, but as opposed to living in the basement, now I have my own actual apartment, and I painted it, right? I painted it in colors that make me feel good, colors that when I walk into the room, I like the colors that I see. I like the way the light makes the colors, can make it look dark one moment, and it can make it look, very light one moment. It fills the room with some type of warmth. At least it gives me a feeling of warmth, right? I have furniture that kind of like match my personality. My furniture is really dark. And I have furniture that match my personality. They also match my pockets. But, it feels good. It looks good in the space. I also have things spaced out in my space because I hate clutter. Grew up with a parent who always had things on top of things in her space, right? Just super big furniture, hardly anywhere to walk, things like that. I hate that. I love that at any time in my space, if anyone wants to lay down on the ground and roll around for like 3 or 4 feet, they can. There is nothing obstructing them. There were no obstructions. I'm big on space. I'm big on having a lot of space. I'm big on being able to wave my hands around and not touch things around me. I just like the freedom that space can give you, because you can always add things when you have a lot of space. When you don't have a lot of space, you can't, you have to take away things. So I'd rather be on the side where, the side of error where I have to add more versus where I have to subtract things. And so this has allowed me to get a better understanding of who I am, right? Like now that I have my own space, now I see what my cleaning schedules are like, right? I'm not as neat and tidy as I may have thought I was many, many years ago. But then again, I didn't also think I was that super neat and tidy. I think I became especially neat and tidy when it came to me living with my ex, because he was not neat and tidy. However, I realized, okay, when it comes to my house, when it comes to dusting, I have dark furniture. So if I can see that my dark furniture is now lightening up, it's time for me to start dusting. It's time for me to start cleaning, right? And I have my habits, meaning that I sleep partially in the nude sometimes. And that's something that's a luxury I get to have living by myself, right? I get to say, okay, well, if I feel like being topless tonight, I can be topless because I don't have to worry about who's coming into my room, or I don't have to worry about if someone is going to think that me being topless is a come on, or that me being topless is being inappropriate, or I'm being wanton, or whatever the case may be. And so I get to have that to play with that in my space. In my space, I get to buy the groceries that I want to buy, right? Eat the foods that I want to eat, drink the things I want to drink, like this vodka that's hitting me right now. And watch the things that I want to watch, listen to the music that I want to listen to, and have that freedom to do so. And so, for me, I've always wanted to live on my own since I was like 16 or 17. By the time I turned 18, I created like a 7-year plan on how I wanted to like get my own place, and like I wanted to live in Williamsburg. I wanted to be a super punk rock kid. Like that was my whole thing. And that child still lives on inside of me. I still, feel like that 17-year-old girl who wants purple streaks and her chin pierced, her earlobe pierced, maybe get her eyebrow pierced and get like 15 more tattoos. That's still me. But I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet with the piercings and the tattoos. I have my tattoos, but not as many as I want. Either way, I wanted to live on my own a lot because I wanted to experience that. And having lived with other people for so many years of my life, first with my family for 20 plus years of my life, and then with my ex for over 2 years, or about 2 years of my life. Now that I'm living on my own, I find that I am now able to thoroughly understand what it means to be comfortable in my space, and to be comfortable with myself, and to be comfortable with living with myself. And I think it's very important to note, I keep saying important a lot, but I think a lot of these things are important. I think it's very important to note that you should be comfortable with living with yourself before you live with other people. And that doesn't necessarily mean living by yourself in your lonesome, right? Because like I said, I lived with other people, but even when I lived with other people, I knew what my space was. I knew what my space afforded me, and I knew what having that little corner of the home meant to me, and how it made me feel, and what it did for me as a person, and how it helped me to build who I am, and helped me to shape who I am, and helped me to understand and to have a really good grounded grasp of who I am. And I feel like once you know how to live with yourself, it should be easier for you to learn how to live with other people. Okay? Because once you know how to live with yourself, once you move in with that person, this is what I can compromise. This is what I'll accept. This is what needs to have a compromise on, and this is what I will not tolerate. Right? And once you're able, because you learn how to live by yourself, to come up with those 3 things, what you can accept, what you need, what needs compromise, and what you will not tolerate, then you guys should be able to live well with each other. And if not, then you go that route of living together apart, because there is the option of you not having to be with the person that you love all the time, all day, every day. Me, I love living, I would love living with my next partner. I say that like I know who my next partner is. I don't have one. Tears. No, I say that in the sense that like the next time that I date, and I date seriously, I would have to live with this person, right? Because I now know and fully accept what it is to live by myself. And if we decide to go any further, I would want someone to live with me, because I do like the companionship as much as I do like, the ease of being on my own. I absolutely do love the companionship of living with another person. Absolutely. Especially if the person is similar, right? It's like-minded and similar, has a similar living style like me, meaning there are days when I'm going to want to be on top of my significant other, or there are going to be days when I want to be on top of you. Like, I'm going to want to be on the couch and throw my legs on top of you. I'm going to want to like throw my body on your body, or have you throw your body on my body. When it comes to sleeping, oh, I'm a big time cuddler. Like, cuddle me, wrap your legs all around me, put your hands in my hair. Let me put my face in your beard, because, you know, I'm addicted to beards now. Put my face in your beard, put your hands in my hair, wrap our legs around, throw my arm over here, snore in my ear while I drool on your pillow. That's me. But there are people who can live together apart, meaning, you know, it's like, you know, we can be together, but we don't have to live together, because I like my space and I've learned what it's like to live by myself. And I would much prefer to live with myself and by myself than to have someone else come in that space and kind of corrupt it. But we can be together. We don't have to live together to be together. And that's absolutely a thing. And it's absolutely an option. And not everyone should feel inclined to have to live with a person that they're dating or that they're with seriously, because it's an option. You know, it's absolutely an option. I mean, you can, you know, in the South, not in the South, but you see that a lot with like older couples, right? Or when you become a certain age, and I want to say in the South, but I absolutely saw this like with my aunts and uncles. When they gotten older, my aunt would have her own bedroom, my uncle would have his own bedroom, and they had their own bedrooms. They grew to a point where it was like, I don't need to sleep with you. And it could be because he just snores too damn loud, or it's because she hogs the covers and she needs the room at 6 degrees and I need it at 85. So we just can't be in the same room at the same time sleeping, right? They live separate together. Or they're separately together, right? They have their own sections, right? Some people may have their own section of the house where, you know, if you can afford all that space, again, you know, we're living in times where people can't really afford that, but there are opportunities to do those things where it's like, listen, I have my section of the house where when I need to just be away from people and I need to be away from others taking that energy from me and be away from others just kind of like pulling apart, you know, like it's just too much to be on and around you right now. I feel like you wanting to engage me all the time at times when I want to be by myself. That's not conducive to me feeling productive. You have your area of the house. I have my area of the house. When we want to come together, we come together. When we want to be apart, we be apart. And that is entirely an option, you know. And again, that comes with learning how to live by yourself, and realizing that, you know, sometimes living by yourself is better than living with other people, because maybe you don't want to compromise. Maybe you don't want to give up that little bit of sanity, as we discussed, you know, with having to live with another person, you know. And sometimes people can feel that way, and everyone has that right to feel that way, because at the end of the day, the greatest part, one of the things that you learn in adulting and becoming an adult and being slightly adult-ish is understanding that not everything that works for some people works for every person, right? One of the good things about adulting and adultish, or being an adult-ish, is, or having your adult-ish, getting your adult-ish on, is understanding what works for you. Right? Understanding what works for you, and understanding that what works for you makes you feel great. And so you shouldn't have to really compromise all of that all the time. Right? If being alone every Tuesday from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. is your thing and that works for you, then it works for you. I feel like even when I lived with my ex-husband, there was an understanding that when I came home from work, like, I'm going to cook, leave me alone, right? And he had his thing too, where it was like he would come home from work. He came home from work hours before I came home from work. So he had the entire apartment to himself for hours to do whatever the hell he wanted to do. And I did not question him on the things that he did in the apartment when I wasn't there. I did not come storming through the door saying, so you couldn't clean, you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. I let him have his time. And in return, when I came home, I had my time. I would cook, I would change my clothes, and I would sit on the couch. And while he was watching wrestling, because he was a big WWE or WCW, or whatever the wrestling, WFW or WWF, WWF and WCW, whatever. Well, he spent his 3 hours watching that shit, which was quite annoying to me. I took that time